that, in my opinion, I'd like to see more chaos injected into the world of professional wrestling. Now, what do I mean? I mean that we've gotten to a place where, for a long time, we were saying, why can't you bring back long-term storytelling? Why can't you bring back long-term storytelling? It felt like what happened week to week barely even mattered because everything would just change on a whim, and that was really, really bad. And I think that when long-term storytelling kind of became the norm again, it was met with open arms, and I still meet it with open arms. I think that the best approach to storytelling is a disciplined approach to storytelling. That's why we can enter into this era and say things like everything counts, and why we can look and micro-analyze everything that's happening on these episodes of professional wrestling television and not feel like fools because the people doing them are not doing that, because they are. And I love it. But I think that there comes a time when you need to interject some chaos into the mix too, where you need to kind of just grab the wheel and pull it either as far right or as far left as the thing will go and just kind of see what happens. Now, I don't mean make chaos the norm. I mean, for instance, the road to WrestleMania 40 was extremely chaotic, but the right people were behind the wheel and it turned into some of the best stuff ever. It's a roller coaster, right? A roller coaster is chaotic, but you trust the ride because, for better or worse, you trust the operators of this roller coaster, that you will go on this absolutely chaotic ride, but in the end, you'll arrive safely exactly where you were supposed to arrive the entire time. And I think that is how I want to feel, not all the time, but sometimes when I'm watching professional wrestling. I think if you just bring it back to all chaos all the time, then you're talking about like end of WCW level chaotic, which is not good. I mean, you still want to, what you want to do is continue to have this sort of discipline and continue to build stars and stories so that the payoff still feels huge, but maybe people didn't even realize that the build was happening right in front of them. You know, I think that this all started occurring to me, and this is what I've been thinking about. You know, I'll go for a drive, or I'll drive between jobs or whatever, and I'll let my brain kind of wander. And a caller called into the radio show this week, and they said, well, I don't know that CM Punk or Jey Uso is going to win the World Heavyweight title. I said, what? And they said, yeah, and I've been thinking about that a lot. And usually I would say, listen, the World Heavyweight Champion went down with an injury. You've got to put the World Heavyweight title on somebody else so you can have that championship on this brand. It's not good to have the World Heavyweight title just kind of, looming over everybody. But the more I thought about it, the more I said, well, listen, you don't have opportunities like this where a champion is legit injured. And it's a horrible situation to be in. So why not make the most out of this bad situation? You have an excuse now to go, we can just try things. We can do weird stuff. We can dig ourselves out of this hole. And you'd go, well, you're not going to dig yourself out of a hole. Well, maybe we will. Maybe we'll end up on the other side somewhere. But let's just keep digging and see where it goes. You know what I'm saying? Like, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, there is something to that. Now, I think that it's compelling either way. I think the idea of CM Punk winning the World Heavyweight title is not a bad thing. I think it's a good thing. And I think that CM Punk as that World Heavyweight Champion is something that people have wanted to see. I think he's as popular a babyface as you're going to get on Monday Night Raw. I think he's on the show every single week. I think that seeing CM Punk in 2025 with a World Heavyweight Championship with a WWE logo on it is still something that is thrilling for people to see. At the same time, I think that the Jey Uso stuff is not stale. I think that this is a different version of Jey Uso. I think that this is a version of Jey Uso who feels entitled to be in this main event picture as opposed to having struggles with whether or not he was worthy of being in this position. And, the idea that we'll go on this journey to see if he'll become a tyrant, if he'll be giving, if he will, how will he do? this version of Jey Uso as World Heavyweight Champion, and how will Jimmy respond to that, and how will Roman respond to that? I think that there's a ton of stuff there as well. But I also think that you have this opportunity where you've got a freshly heel turned Jade Cargill, which we'll talk about, wrestling at Saturday night's main event against Tiffany Stratton in a title match. You've got Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre facing off in a title match. You've got big matches on this show, 4 championships, which gives you the opportunity to say, hey, what if we went outside of the box? And I said, okay. I said to myself, if that were to be where it would go, because they don't have to main event with CM Punk and Jey Uso. If Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre are on the show, Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre can main event the show. So let's say it opens. Let's say CM Punk and Jey Uso opens. What if no champion is crowned? What would that actually look like? And I went through the thought exercise, and I got to a place where, man, I kind of think it could be exciting. Some people are going to hate it. I'm going to tell you my whole thought process that'll get us all the way to the end of the year. And some people are going to hate this, and other people are going to like it. But I think everybody will agree it's pretty far outside of where you think it's going. And sometimes I think you just need to give an injection of going way outside the box. So that way, you have an idea of where things are going, but you can never be too sure, okay? So what if we get to this match and it opens Saturday night's main event, right? And we watch Jey Uso versus CM Punk. And it's highly competitive. And then Jimmy Uso appears at ringside. And then Braun Breaker appears at ringside. And then Bronson Reed appears at ringside. And then LA Knight appears at ringside. And all these people, because here's the thing. Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker have a problem with this title match happening because they weren't in the Battle Royal. But at the same time, as much as there is friction between heels right now, Monday Night Raw has created a main event scene amongst the babyfaces where the babyfaces don't get along with each other. So why not utilize all of this tension and bring it all forward? Why make it so direct as, okay, well, Braun Breaker interfered in this match, so now we have to throw it out. Instead, you could have Jimmy Uso and LA Knight and The Vision and whoever else you want to throw in there. You could throw AJ Styles in there if you want to. But you could have this group of people who don't all get along, all kind of interfere, and all kind of interfere at the same time, where there becomes a question, who threw the first punch? Who started this? Because somebody started this physicality that resulted in this match being thrown out as a no contest. Okay? And now you've got all these parties that are bickering and all these parties that are involved. So it's not just a clear cut, okay, we're going to have a rematch. And then also this person has a rivalry with these people who interfered in the match because everybody interfered in the match, right? And then we realize it like it's the type of chaos that doesn't have this linear path to a match to pay off the grudge here, right? It's a total loss of control. And that total loss of control is important because now we see the stress build up in Adam Pearce. Adam Pearce makes it publicly known that he is under a great deal of scrutiny and his job is on the line because the board of directors is furious that there is no World Heavyweight Champion on Monday Night Raw. The board of directors is about to show a vote of lack of confidence or a vote of no confidence in Adam Pearce because of the fact that he can't crown a champion. Now, this is a crucial moment because, number one, you establish that Adam Pearce is at his wit's end and is stressed for real. His job's on the line. But number two, you don't say Triple H is mad at Adam Pearce. You say the board of directors is mad at Adam Pearce. Because what's that going to do? For people like us, for people that read between the lines, we're going to go, oh, The Rock, The Rock, The Rock. Now, you never say The Rock. You never hint at The Rock because The Rock's not actually going to be involved. But it just gives you a little something extra to say the board of directors is mad at Adam Pearce. And Adam Pearce is sitting there going, well, I can't even, and I've got to worry about War Games. I've got to figure out a main event, a War Games match to put in that cage, and I can't get anybody to team up. So Adam Pearce makes this announcement. This is going to get complicated, but I think it will make sense, okay? Adam Pearce says, I'm not going to form these War Games teams. I've got enough on my plate. and I'm not going to deal with it. I'm not going to hear any of you. He's basically taking all his stress and taking it out on the superstars and saying, this is your fault. So I'm not putting together these War Games teams. But here's what I'm going to do. I am going to name a world heavyweight champion before the end of the year. You are going to create your own War Games teams. CM Punk and Jey Uso, you've got to get together and create a team. Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, you've got to get together and create a team for a 5-on-5 match. And so what is the motivation for CM Punk and Jey Uso to get together? What is the motivation for them to create a team? Why would they care about winning this War Games match? Well, Adam Pearce says, we will crown a new world heavyweight champion. And we will crown that champion starting immediately after War Games. Because immediately after War Games, we will hold a tournament that will help us determine who the world heavyweight champion will be going forward. It will be an 8-man tournament. And 5 of those spots will be guaranteed to the team that wins the War Games match. Meaning the entire team gets to be in that tournament, along with 3 superstars that Adam Pearce will announce after War Games. However, none of those 3 will be the 5 on the losing team. So we've got a tournament starting the night after War Games. And 5 of the 8 people in the tournament will be the winning War Games team. And the losing War Games team will not be in the tournament at all, and therefore will not be eligible to be the new world heavyweight champion. So now you've got these 2 teams that in reality are not fighting against each other, because we're not looking at a roster that is everybody in this War Games match is going to hate everybody in this War Games match. The people on the War Games teams are going to have just as much of a problem with the people on the opposite team as they do the people on their team. You can't tell me that Jey Uso has more of a problem with Braun Breaker than he has with CM Punk. Or if CM Punk and Jey Uso agree to bring in LA Knight, that LA Knight doesn't have just as big of a problem with Jey Uso as he does with Bronson Reed. However, they have to work together, and then you see these teams figuring out how to strategize, right? Because if they want to assemble the best team possible, that's all well and good. But the people that they assemble on that team are going to be the same people that they have to fight against right after War Games in this tournament to help crown a new world heavyweight champion. However, if they don't choose the strongest people, their team might lose War Games and they won't be a part of the tournament at all. So for this one night, they have to get along because none of them are thinking on a singular level. I'm sorry, none of them are thinking on a group level. They're all thinking on a singular level. They're all thinking, what's in this for me? However, in order to singularly benefit, you have to work together as a team. And then if we build this super team, right? If you end up with Roman Reigns on CM Punk and Jey Uso's team, right? If you end up with, Randy Orton over there, if you end up with Drew McIntyre on the other team, who knows? You're pulling people from SmackDown to come over and join this team. Maybe somebody that you thought was a babyface joins the heels team because he thinks the heels are going to win. And you end up looking at this, and number one, it's compelling because 5 of these guys aren't going to be in the tournament at all. And the other 5 will be, but only one of those other 5, if it's even one of the other 5, is going to make it to the finals of the tournament because there's 3 more people to be added. And you go, well, how come as you're describing this the whole time, Adam Pearce is saying that the tournament will help determine who will be the new world heavyweight champion? And Adam Pearce says, well, I'll make that crystal clear for you. We're going to hold this tournament in the 2 weeks of Monday Night Raw that follow the War Games match. And the winner of that tournament will be crowned the week after War Games. But the winner of that tournament is not the world heavyweight champion, because I don't trust this roster to leave the tournament alone. And I also think that the world heavyweight champion should earn the world heavyweight championship. So the winner of this tournament is going to go on to Saturday night's main event on December 13th and is going to fight in the one match that nobody will interrupt. This is the one match that is too important to the WWE, the one match that the entire locker room is going to make sure that nobody interferes in. John Cena's last match. The winner of the tournament will face John Cena. And if they beat John Cena, they will be the world heavyweight champion. And if John Cena beats them, then John Cena will fulfill the prophecy that he set at the beginning of this year. He will win the world heavyweight championship, and he will retire as champion, and that will be directly on the shoulders of the man who loses to John Cena. So now you've got this scenario where you're watching this tournament, and not only is it a world heavyweight title situation, but it's also the John Cena's last match stipulation. And I know this is getting nuts, and it's getting weird, and it's getting complicated. But I want it to be chaotic. I want to end up in a scenario that we never would have ended up in had it not been for these stipulations. Because what happens if at the end of this tournament, let's say Roman Reigns is in this tournament, but maybe Jimmy Uso comes to the ring, because I've got ideas for Jimmy Uso down the line, and Roman Reigns gets out of the ring, tells him to go, and Roman Reigns gets counted out. Well, now Roman Reigns is out of the tournament. What happens if you know, who knows? Anything could happen. But in this wild scenario that I've crafted in my head, the man who wins the tournament is Los Angeles Knight. LA Knight wins the tournament, which I don't think anybody will see coming, because I think fans will be sitting there wanting to see it, but know that they're not going to see it, even though the truth is they are going to see it. LA Knight wins this tournament. And now you have LA Knight going, and LA Knight has the opportunity in one fell swoop to both be the man who beats John Cena in John Cena's last match and to win the World Heavyweight Championship. Or maybe you start planting little seeds that kind of show what LA Knight might look like if he loses. That there is this road that LA Knight could go down where if he loses to John Cena, maybe he becomes a heel. Maybe there's a darker side of LA Knight. Maybe we start to see little hints of this. And so then we can have this discussion going into Saturday night's main event. What's happening with the World Heavyweight title? Are they really going to have John Cena lose his last match? Or are they really going to have John Cena retire as champion? You know, you could argue either way, depending on how they do it. If John Cena loses, obviously it'll be putting LA Knight over. But if John Cena beats LA Knight, it will still be pushing the LA Knight character into where that character is going next as a heel. And therefore, in beating LA Knight, he is also putting LA Knight over. However, I see the match ending with LA Knight as World Heavyweight Champion. That in this scenario, on this specific road, LA Knight, not only he gets chosen, and maybe begrudgingly so, right? Maybe CM Punk wants to bring LA Knight on the team, and Jey Uso doesn't want to bring LA Knight on the team. And then when LA Knight's the one that wins the tournament, maybe Jey Uso harbors resentment against CM Punk for bringing him on the team to begin with. And LA Knight is able to win the World Heavyweight Championship. And on December the 13th, LA Knight wins the World Heavyweight Championship. He celebrates with it. John Cena shakes his hand. And LA Knight walks off into the locker room, and John Cena is left to give a speech. And to give a speech that is focused on the future of the industry, with the heavy implication being that John Cena just made a move to really showcase stars that could be the future of the industry, to put somebody on the highest pedestal that he could possibly put them on. Now, you might be saying, well, WrestleMania around the corner. This is not what if they want to do this? What if they want to do that? December 13th is over 4 months removed from April the 18th. There's no reason why any time between December 13th and WrestleMania, LA Knight can't lose the World Heavyweight Championship. There's no reason to go like, okay, now for a year, LA Knight's going to be champion. We don't have to be locked in. We don't have to be committed that way. If by the time we get to February and it's like LA Knight is super over with this title and there's clearly a match that people want to see as the main event for WrestleMania, that's fine. You can go for it. If somehow we get to April and people are just like chomping at the bit for LA Knight versus Braun Breaker or for Roman Reigns versus LA Knight or whatever it is, then do it. CM Punk for Jey Uso, whatever you want to do. But I also think there's no reason why LA Knight can't lose the title before WrestleMania. And then you can get right back onto the same WrestleMania plan that you had or something very similar when Seth Rollins was still champion. Not only can you do that, but if you take the title off LA Knight before WrestleMania, then it leaves you with, if Seth Rollins comes back, maybe there's some other kind of heist or ruse or whatever you want to call it. He doesn't have a briefcase, but he could still do something where Seth Rollins is able to get the title back right before WrestleMania. And maybe if Roman Reigns wins the Royal Rumble or CM Punk wins the Elimination Chamber, you can go to Punk or Reigns versus Rollins for the World Heavyweight title at WrestleMania. But I would have to believe that there would have to be some kind of sneak attack, something that would force LA Knight to lose that championship. So what you could have is not only LA Knight losing the title and setting up for a different championship match between two other superstars at WrestleMania, but it could leave you with a super grudge match that LA Knight walks into WrestleMania not the champion, but looking for revenge against the person who he believes cost him the title. And he wants to beat that person. So coming off of WrestleMania, he can start his road to redemption and getting that title for a second time. And that could be Jey Uso, that could be Jimmy Uso, that could be whoever it could be. It could be any number of people. Who even knows what'll be happening in WWE at that point? But the idea of ending 2025 with LA Knight beating John Cena and therefore becoming World Heavyweight Champion is crazy to me. I sat there and said, okay, is there a road that I can craft that will take me somewhere that seems so far out of the realm of possibility based on where we are at today? And that's that actually I think would work. And that's the road that I went down. If you want to turn everything on its head, that's kind of where I took it. I'd love to know what your thoughts are. You can email in, you can leave comments, you can do whatever you want.